There it is again. Flying as a comet in the sky. Someone is up there in Carfax Castle. Evil looking place. Stone by stone. Should have torn it down years ago. Gives me the creeps it does. Because again, the candle moving up in the window. Enough to chill the blood. Don't know why I ever took this job.
Grim!
Ah! Miss Fern, you scared the donuts out of me. You can't sneak up on a man like that. I might have heart failure.
If you don't stop talking to yourself, someone is likely to mistake you for one of Dr. Quincy's patients.
I've seen a person moving up in Carfax Castle.
Nonsense. Place has been deserted for years.
I've seen a candle moving by a window.
Imagination.
Imagination? Once maybe, not 3 times.
3 times tonight, you mean?
No, I mean last night, and the night before.
Grim, have you been drinking?
Certainly not. This month, I never touch spirits.
If there's anyone over at the castle, it's probably children from the village, up to mischief.
Miss Fern, you know as well as I do, the children from this village give this sanatorium and the castle a wide berth.
I'm afraid the patients and their problems are beginning to disturb you. You're grumpy as a cat.
People with problems are one thing, but the patients Dr. Quincy has in that sanatorium, they're peculiar.
Go along. Tend to your duties. Dr. Quincy was very upset when he discovered Renfield had escaped from his room again.
I don't know how he does it. I lock him on that and he somehow gets out. Do you know what he asked me to fetch him?
I'm the only housekeeper here. I have no interest in patients apart from their comfort.
He asked me to fetch him a nice, fat spider.
That's enough. Go along.
Lunatics asking me for spiders. Candles moving up in windows. What's next?
What on earth is the matter with Grim? His work is getting to him, I'm afraid. I do hope he's not thinking of resigning. Good help is so hard to come by. My brother says he's rather good with Renfield. Renfield leads him a merry chase. How is Miss Lucy? We can't seem to find anything wrong with her. Anything definite? The poor girl has no energy. She's so tired and listless. Sleeps most of the day. Probably a bug of some sort or other. I imagine she'll be back on her feet in no time. My brother is quite worried. We'll have to postpone the wedding date. She's in no condition to go through all that. I had to cancel her appointment with the photographer in London. He was quite put out.
Oh, there you are. Any news of Arthur?
His car was turning in at the gate when I came downstairs. Mina's gone to meet him. Will you be wanting anything, Mrs. Westbrook? If I want anything, I'll ring. Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen Grim, Mrs. Fern?
He was here just now, Dr. Quincy. Said there were lights at Carfax Castle. Nonsense! That's what I said, man.
Well, if you see him, tell him I'd like to speak with him. This escape visit with Renfield has me concerned.
I'll attend to it at once, Dr. Quincy. Renfield is your favorite patient.
I have so few patients in residence at the moment.
Are you going to write a book about him?
Perhaps. His case is most curious. You know, you hear his voice directing his every
Please
move.
spare me the clinical report. The sanatorium aspect of our family estate I leave entirely to you.
Thought you might be interested.
I hope I didn't seem rude. I'm so worried about Lucy.
As am I. I can't seem to diagnose her malady.
You don't think it's anything terribly serious, do you?
Let's see how she's feeling in the morning.
Come along, Arthur. You'll do wonders for Lucy. She's been asking about you.
He's here.
Arthur, delighted you could make it.
It's a pleasure. How is she?
You must be tired after your ride to London.
Not in the least.
There's nothing to worry about.
That's not the impression I got when you wrote yesterday.
Lucy was close to being in a coma.
Coma?
We thought it best to call you.
I'm glad you did.
The wedding plans will have to be delayed.
It's Lucy's health I'm concerned about.
You've been a tremendous help, Nina. I wouldn't have been able to manage without you. The wedding, the invitations, now the delay.
You know how Jonathan and I feel about Lucy. She's a dear friend.
Are you sure there's no more cause for alarm?
At the moment, it would seem my niece is suffering from some sort of anemia. There's a deficiency in her red blood cells.
I've never known her to be anemic.
That's the thing. It all came about so suddenly. Don't you worry, my boy. We'll have her back to her old self in no time.
That's good to hear. I'll go up and see her.
No! Let her rest. See her in the morning.
If you think it best. What do you hear from Jonathan? Have I said something wrong?
I'm afraid my poor husband has suffered a misfortune.
He'll be home soon, under the best of care.
Misfortune?
He's been in Europe on business.
I know.
Somewhere in the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania.
Transylvania?
It's a remote region in Romania.
I received one letter from him, from an inn located in some place called the Burgos Pass. He was journeying on to meet a nobleman who wanted to buy property here in England. He contacted Jonathan's law firm.
You spoke of misfortune.
After that letter, nothing.
You mean he disappeared?
I was frantic, no word from him, my letters went unanswered.
It's a primitive area. No electricity, no cablegrams.
For all Mina knew, he might have been murdered by bandits.
And then this.
What is it?
It's a letter from a doctor in Budapest. Dear Mrs. Harker, I write at the request of your husband, who is not yet well enough to do so himself. He's been under my care, suffering from brain fever.
Brain fever?
Yes.
Poor Jonathan.
Your husband has had some fearful shock. In his delirium, his ravings were dreadful. Words such as wolves, blood, vampires, I dare not say what else.
It's hard to believe.
Would you, Mrs. Westerner? It distresses me to read it.
We would have written earlier, but knew nothing of his origin. He came by train from Transylvania. The conductor reports that he rushed into the station shouting for a ticket to England. Seeing his agitated and irrational state, they brought him here to my hospital. Be assured, your husband is well cared for. No doubt he'll be ready to travel in a few weeks.
Extraordinary. I don't know what to say.
I contacted the doctor in Budapest, a Dr. Bartok, excellent man, made all the arrangements.
For keeping Jonathan in Budapest?
No, for transferring him here, under my care.
My brother thought it best.
What could have happened in those mountains?
I don't know. I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Quincy. I would have gone to pieces without your support. First Jonathan, now Lucy. It's like a curse.
A temporary setback to our mutual good fortune, nothing more. The important thing is that Lucy is under my care, and Jonathan soon will be.
Did I hear correctly? Vampires?
That section of the country is riddled with superstition. When brain fever takes hold, all sorts of hallucinations can take form and appear real.
Jonathan will be here tomorrow.
That is good news.
Dr. Bartok is sending a nurse along. Jonathan is not strong enough to travel by himself.
Once he's back on the soil of England, he'll be fit enough.
Good gracious, what is that?
Sounds like a wolf.
There are no wolves in England.
More than likely some wild dog.
Quite so, still I wish we hadn't heard it.
What makes you say that?
Any unusual sounds in the vicinity have a tendency to make my brother's guests a bit restless.
It's Renfield who becomes agitated.
Only wild dog, I tell you, probably foraging for food.
He won't find much if he's hunting the grounds of Carfax Castle. The place is barren of everything but thorn bushes and weeds.
I don't know what your uncle is going to say, miss. I'm feeling so much better. It's Lucy!
Flora, I gave you strict instruction Miss Lucy was to remain in her room.
You wouldn't listen to me, Dr. Quincy.
Don't scold Flora and don't scold me, Uncle.
I'm better.
Besides, I don't want to be Arthur looking pale and one in his sick bed.
You mustn't disobey my orders.
I would have seen you in the morning.
Everyone is making too much of a fuss. I'm getting stronger. Really, I am.
You'd better sit down.
Over here, Arthur, she can stretch out.
No need.
Mother knows best.
Better do, she says.
Seems like I don't have much of a choice.
Beg pardon, Dr. Quincy?
When is Mrs. Fern?
It's Grim. He says you'd better come along. Renfield is acting up.
Knew that Howling would cause trouble.
I trust the animal isn't rabid.
Bah!
I think some soup and a cup of hot tea would do wonders for Lucy.
Everyone is a bit... I'm not hungry.
Doctor's orders.
I'll sleep with it once.
No need. I'll tend to it.
I can see where I'm going to have my hands full with you. I insist on good health.
Arthur, you're better than all the medicine my uncle had in his cabinets.
Come along, Flora. We'll give them a few moments together.
Yes, ma'am.
You might give me an Afghan, Flora. It's meant to be someplace besides my bedroom.
Right away, Miss Lucy.
You see how they treat me? As if I were a child.
Well, concerned for you. Are you saying you feel better?
I am. It's just, at night, I fall into a deep sleep. But when I wake in the morning, it's as if I hadn't slept at all. I'm exhausted. Are you awfully disappointed about postponing the wedding?
I'm disappointed in your condition.
I'll be strong now that you're here. I promise. How long will you stay?
As long as you need me.
Dr. Quincy wonders if we might have a word with you. In private, Mr. Holmwood.
I don't want to leave Miss Lucy.
I'll stay with her.
Go along, both of you.
I insist.
Oh, yes, Flora. I hope we learn now.
And I won't be long.
You'll be warm enough.
Too warm. Leave the Afghan. I may not need it.
You don't want to catch a chill.
You're being ridiculous, Flora. It's stifling in here. I can hardly breathe. Open the garden doors.
I don't think your uncle would approve.
Open the garden doors, I said.
Yes, miss.
That's better. I can breathe again. I think I can sleep now. Tell me and I'll take the soup later.
I'll sit in here with you.
No, there's no need. Turn down the lights.
Yes, miss. Are you comfortable, Miss Lucy?
Yes. Did you hear that, Flora?
Hear what, miss?
Like great soft wings moving towards the house.
No, miss. I didn't hear anything. Miss Lucy? Miss Lucy?
We have had such an adventure, such an agonizing experience. I fell asleep as soon as I closed my diary. Suddenly I became broad awake with a strange feeling of fear and sense of emptiness around me. The room was dark, so I could not see Lucy's bed. I stole across and I felt for her. She was not there. I lit a match and found that she was not in the room. I ran downstairs and checked the sitting room. Not there. I then searched every other room in the house with an ever-growing fear chilling my heart. Finally, I came to the hall door and found it open. I grabbed a big heavy shawl and ran out. There was a bright full moon with heavy black driving clouds. For a moment or two, I could see nothing. There, our favorite seat on the pier. The silver light of the moon struck a white figure half reclined. But it seemed to me as though something dark stood behind the place where the white figure shone and bent over it. What it was, whether man or beast, I could not tell. I did not wait to catch another glance, but flew down the steep steps to the pier. I was now close enough to distinguish the white figure, even through the spells of shadow. There was undoubtedly something long and black bent over the place where the white figure shone. I called in fright, "Lucy, Lucy!" And something raised a head. And from where I was, I could see a white face and red, gleaming eyes. Lucy did not answer. The moonlight struck her so brilliantly that I could see her, half reclined, her head lying on the back of the seat. She was quite alone, and there was not a sign of any living thing about.
Listen to the children of the night. What music they make.
I was afraid you would return.
Night unto night, I will be with you.
Night into night.
Death is only the beginning.